back to our channel on this magnificent day. We are absolutely thrilled to bring you another immersive journey into the heart of Genoa City, where corporate empires are built on shifting sands and family loyalties are tested by the relentless pursuit of power. Today, we dive deep into the labyrinthine conflicts threatening to tear the Abbott and Winters legacies apart forever. Within the opulent, historically rich walls of the Abbott mansion, a quiet but pervasive anxiety gripped Jack Abbott and Diane Jenkins. The couple found themselves deeply entangled in a web of speculation regarding the sudden, clandestine alliance between Kyle Abbott and Victoria Newman. Diane, possessing a mother's sharp and often unforgiving intuition, sensed a profound shift in her son's demeanor, yet both she and Jack remained tragically blind to the true nature of this partnership. They rationalized the secretive meetings and hushed conversations as nothing more than a calculated, high-stakes business maneuver designed to outwit the formidable Victor Newman. The tragic irony of their assumption hung heavily in the air. They believed their son was merely playing a dangerous game of corporate chess, completely oblivious to the explosive, deeply personal romantic entanglement that was actually unfolding behind closed doors, a secret that possessed the catastrophic potential to shatter multiple families and ignite a war of unprecedented proportions. Jack's mind, however, could not solely dwell on his son's mysterious corporate machinations. The patriarch of the Abbott family was carrying the immense, suffocating weight of his family's legacy, a legacy currently being violently shaken by his brother Billy's relentless crusade to conquer Chancellor Industries. The discovery of a decades-old, unpaid loan issued by their late father, John Abbott, had ignited a firestorm of legal and ethical dilemmas. Jack found himself standing at a perilous crossroads, forced to navigate the treacherous waters between honoring his father's hidden financial history and maintaining the delicate peace he had fought so hard to establish within Genoa City's elite circles. The ghost of John Abbott seemed to cast a long, judgmental shadow over every decision, pushing Jack to evaluate the true meaning of loyalty, inheritance, and the destructive nature of unchecked ambition that threatened to consume his younger brother entirely. Driven by a profound need to resolve the escalating crisis before it fractured his family beyond repair, Jack made the deliberate decision to confront the issue at its source. He traveled to the elegant residence of Lily Winters, a woman he deeply respected but who now stood as the primary obstacle in Billy's path to absolute corporate supremacy. The atmosphere inside Lily's home was thick with palpable desperation and defensive resolve. Lily, fighting with every ounce of her being to protect the empire she had painstakingly built and nurtured, was prepared to make a monumental sacrifice. She presented Jack with a highly lucrative, desperate proposition, a complete financial buyout to settle the historical debt, hoping to sever the Abbott family's legal grasp on Chancellor Industries once and for all, and secure her reign over the corporate titan. Lily's strategy was born of pure necessity, a calculated gamble to preserve her professional sanctuary from Billy's chaotic influence. She laid out her terms with urgent precision, offering to repay the archaic loan in full, effectively attempting to purchase her continued sovereignty over the company. It was a move designed to appeal to Jack's sense of reason and his known desire to avoid messy, protracted corporate warfare. However, as Jack listened to her impassioned plea, his analytical mind meticulously dissected the underlying implications of her offer. He recognized the profound vulnerability hidden beneath her confident exterior, understanding that this financial maneuver was not a display of strength, but a glaring admission of legal peril and a desperate attempt to plug a sinking ship. In that tense, silent moment of reflection, a profound realization washed over Jack. By offering to pay off the debt, Lily was inadvertently validating the absolute legality of Billy's claim. She was silently acknowledging that the Abbott family's right to Chancellor Industries was not a fabricated delusion, but a binding, irrefutable truth anchored in a legitimate contract. Jack's expression hardened as he processed this revelation, his loyalty to his family's bloodline solidifying. He saw clearly that accepting her money would be tantamount to a betrayal of his father's legacy, a cowardly retreat from a rightful inheritance simply to avoid the discomfort of conflict and the messy realities of corporate succession. With a heavy heart but an unwavering resolve, Jack systematically dismantled Lily's hopes. He firmly and unequivocally rejected her financial offer, his voice carrying the authoritative weight of the Abbott patriarch. He articulated his reasoning with cold, undeniable logic, pointing out that the contract was legally sound, the historical debt remained unpaid, and therefore, The Abbott family's claim to the empire was entirely legitimate. Jack invoked the sacred memory of John Abbott, reasoning that if his father had truly intended for the debt to be forgiven or forgotten, he would have destroyed the promissory note years ago. The very existence of the document was a testament to John's unfulfilled intentions, and Jack refused to be the one to erase that history for the sake of convenience. Furthermore, Jack drew a hard line in the sand regarding his family's internal unity. He made it abundantly clear that he would absolutely not allow this corporate dispute to fracture the Abbott family. He refused to turn his back on his brother, effectively shutting down Lily's attempt to drive a wedge between them. Jack challenged Lily's perspective, forcing her to confront the reality of the situation. He pointed out the inherent contradiction in her actions, noting that her willingness to pay a massive sum was a direct confession of the claim's validity. He then posed a piercing philosophical question, challenging her to explain why Billy, assuming his rightful place at the helm of Chancellor, was being treated as an apocalyptic tragedy rather than a legitimate, legally mandated succession of power. Having delivered his final verdict, Jack instructed Lily that she would have to deal directly with Billy from this point forward, washing his hands of the negotiation. As Jack departed, leaving a suffocating silence in his wake, Lily was engulfed by a profound sense of isolation and impending doom. The walls of her meticulously curated life seemed to be closing in on her. Her ultimate safety net had just been ruthlessly cut away, leaving her entirely exposed to the chaotic, unpredictable storm that was Billy Abbott. The realization that she was losing her grip on the corporate kingdom she loved so fiercely sent a cold shiver of dread down her spine, forcing her to recognize that the battle was no longer about financial leverage, but about raw, unmitigated survival in a ruthless corporate landscape. The heavy silence in Lily's home was abruptly shattered by the sharp, demanding ring of her telephone. It was Billy Abbott, his voice carrying a new, dangerous edge of tactical calculation. Sensing the shifting tides of the conflict, Billy had pivoted from aggressive, unilateral takeovers to a more structured, yet equally threatening, legal strategy. He informed Lily of his intention to gather their respective legal teams, proposing a formal summit to navigate the transition of power and ostensibly avoid a catastrophic public lawsuit. It was a thinly veiled threat wrapped in professional courtesy, a move designed to corner Lily and force her into submission under the crushing weight of legal inevitability and the looming threat of public humiliation. Recognizing that evasion was no longer a viable option, Lily made a bold, desperate tactical decision. She invited Billy over to her home for a face-to-face confrontation, determining that if she was going to lose her empire, she would look her conqueror in the eye. As she awaited his arrival, Lily meticulously fortified her psychological defenses. She mentally catalogued every erratic decision, every destructive impulse, and every catastrophic failure that had defined Billy's history, preparing to weaponize his past against his current ambitions. She knew she was walking into a lion's den, but she refused to surrender her legacy without inflicting maximum psychological damage on the man attempting to steal it from her grasp. When Billy finally crossed the threshold of her home, the atmosphere instantly ignited with a volatile, crackling tension. The air was thick with years of complicated history, resentment, and a bitter struggle for dominance. Lily wasted no time, launching a calculated verbal assault that targeted Billy's deepest insecurities. She mercilessly highlighted his extensive history of colossal mistakes, painting a vivid picture of a man inherently incapable of maintaining stability or protecting a legacy as monumental as Chancellor Industries. She aimed to unravel his confidence, to make him doubt his own capacity for leadership in the face of his documented historical failures and his well-known propensity for spectacular self-destruction. However, Lily also possessed the strategic acumen to recognize when a battle was lost. In a move that completely shifted the power dynamic of the room, she revealed the agonizing truth of Jack's visit. She confessed that Jack had firmly sided with his brother, rejecting her financial buyout and validating Billy's legal right to the throne. This revelation stripped Billy of his defensive posture, replacing it with a heavy, undeniable burden of expectation. Having conceded the legal high ground, Lily delivered a chilling, uncompromising ultimatum. She demanded that Billy prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he was the absolute best and only person qualified to run Chancellor Industries, challenging him to transcend his destructive nature and actually earn the empire he was demanding to inherit. As their intense standoff reached a fever pitch, the unresolved tension hung heavily between them. a fragile truce built on mutual defiance and impending consequence. Billy now faced the monumental task of proving his worth to a woman who despised him, while Lily plotted her next desperate move to retain control. Yet, as Billy and Lily locked horns in their bitter struggle for corporate supremacy, they remained entirely oblivious to the far more devastating storms gathering on the horizon. The secret, explosive romance between Kyle and Victoria continued to tick like a hidden time bomb, threatening to obliterate the fragile peace between the Abbott and Newman dynasties. And lurking in the deepest shadows, the horrifying truth of John Abbott's faked death and the world-shattering revelation of Billy's true Newman paternity waited patiently to detonate, promising to plunge all of Genoa City into an unprecedented era of chaos, betrayal, and absolute ruin.